All right, well, I guess we'll go on ahead and get started. And if anybody else comes in, I will go on ahead and allow them to join. I am Callista. I guess my name says Maldonado on here, but it's actually Minky. I'm the program coordinator for the Small Business Development Center. I wanted to say thank y'all for joining us for Lunch Club. Um, to I know you didn't come here to see me talk. You actually came here to see Annie and Jennifer. So I will get that passed over to them and they will let you know everything that both the Small Business Development Center and the SBA have to offer. Annie's computer was having some issues, so she hopped in and joined me over here. So I will go on ahead and let her take it from here.
I'm just putting sharing this screen.
Yes, I will go on ahead and share.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, welcome everybody. Excited to be here today. This is my official first lunch club as director, so I'm very excited to join you all. And I'm excited to have Jennifer here. She's been an amazing resource for me as I learn about the SBA and what the SBA can offer. So first, I want to tell you a little about SBDC. We have a new building, which I'll get to here in a minute, but what we do, I'm not sure if y'all know what we do. My advance is not working. Hold on just one sec. Why is it not going? Oh, there we go. Just had to hit it funny. All right. So what we do at the SBDC, our whole role is to grow and support the local small businesses in the Panhandle. And we do this through a few different ways. Who we are is we are actually employed by WTAMU, and we are part of the economic development outreach for the College of Business. Then we are also partially funded by the Small Business Administration, and that allows us to do the work that we do free of charge to all of you in the local community. We have a new building. We moved into our new space about a month ago, and we are on the far north end of the Enterprise Center. And so it's 2300 North Western Street. And so when you arrive, if you've been to the Enterprise Center, we've been kind of partnered with them. We still partner with them, but now we have separate offices, which has been helpful to kind of differentiate us. All right, so our team, you met Callista Mankey. She is our program coordinator and has been with us since July. Then we have Shane Groff, who is our seasoned consultant, I like to say. He keeps us on our toes. He's been with us for SBDC for 7 years. I consider myself still fairly new. I started with the local office in August as a business consultant, and then became regional director in December. Then we have two student workers. We have Riley Duvall and Romy Rubio, and both of them help part-time. They help do us research, they help do our social media, and anything else that we need assistance with. So what we do, our whole goal is to support entrepreneurs and small businesses in the local community. We all know that small business is not only the heart of Texas, but the heart of the United States. And that is really the lifeblood of, of business in the US. We basically provide consulting services, so one-on-one consulting for small, brand new businesses that want to open to current small businesses that maybe need a little help either on their financials or skills that they didn't realize they needed as a new entrepreneur, but as they grow, they're finding that there's some opportunities for some continual learning. We also provide training, and that's both in person and online trainings. Then research. Research is one we don't talk a lot about, but we have access to a number of different platforms that if you are looking to do your business plan, when you do a business plan, you need to be able to show that there is a need for this business, that there is data that supports that, and that is what we have access to be able to supply you all. So a few highlights of 2025. In 20, or numbers went a little weird, but I'll tell you about them. We consulted 200 or 524 clients. Um, for capital formation, what we did is 16.2 million, and that means we helped get capital funding for small businesses in the amount of 16.2 million. Then business starts, we had 41. Oh, I'm not sure why that's not. We had 41 new business starts last year, and I believe the number for our employees that we are new employees for our small businesses was 295 that we were able to add in 2025. Um, Business assistance. So with our consulting, we can provide technical consulting. So that's everything from business plans, cash flow projections, market research. I like it to call it that we kind of are the help you with the nuts and bolts of a business. So there you have all the fun stuff of creating, the name and your idea of what you want to do. But then we can come in and we can help you actually put some structure around that and also help you put some systems in place to make your business successful. We are no cost to the business owners since we are funded both by the state and the SBA. We provide in-person coaching. We also provide, we can do Zoom coaching and even phone, just having a conversation on the phone, one-on-one coaching. We are focused on startups and also existing small businesses. We also have, by being part of the College of Business at WTAMU, we have the opportunity to sometimes provide interns to work on projects for some of the local small businesses if there's a specific area they need. Say they need a marketing plan, and somebody in the marketing department, or a student in the marketing department can actually help them develop a marketing plan. We also work with Apex, and Apex helps businesses connect to government contracts, both at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. And some of the ways that we also connect you all to Apex is through procurement luncheons. And we actually have a procurement lunch on March 3rd. So it's coming up. You can visit our website for that date and to sign up for that event. Also, too, they do bid match software. So what that is, it offers free resources that can scan thousands of federal, state, local, and procurement sites daily to find relevant government contracting opportunities. So they are an amazing partner for us and a big help in just, keeping our small businesses open by working with government contracting. Other workshops that we offer, we have a QuickBooks workshop coming up on April 14th. That's a real popular one. We also can help with Google Business, business plan basics, social media, and project management, to name a few. Research. Okay, so these are some of the areas of research that we're able to help y'all with. We can do retail gap analysis. So what that is if you're looking at opening a specific type of retail store, we can do a gap analysis to see if there's a need for that type of business in the community, which is very helpful. Also, we can do ring studies, and that would take kind of what your competitors are within a certain range of your business where you're planning on putting your business. Those are just a few of those. All right. How you can reach us is there's our phone number, 806-651-5151. Or our website is WTSBDC.com. And then we also have, if you need to email, you can email Callista or one of our program assistants at info@WTSBDC.com. And we will do what we can to get you connected to either Shane or myself or any of our trainings. And now I want to introduce our main speaker, and that is Jennifer Goldham, who has been working for SBA years. I honestly don't know, but I do know that she is my content expert that I go to when I have questions. So Jennifer, you want to go ahead? Is she there? There she is.
Hi, thank you, Annie. Give me
You're
just
welcome.
1 second here. Let me make sure you're seeing the presentation I want you to see. And then here, can you still see the presentation or do you see my slides on top of the screen? Are we good? How does that look? Does that look good, Callista?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So, as Annie said, my name is Jennifer Oldham and I work with the SBA local. Hang on 1 second. I don't have video. Give me 1 second. Okay, you can see me, you can hear me, right? And you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, I've got 3 monitors going, so it's kind of messing me up on what's where. But as Annie said, I'm Jennifer Oldham. I work for the SBA. We have a district office in Lubbock, Texas that covers 71 counties in West Texas. We cover an area from Abilene out past the Permian Basin and then all the way up to Amarillo and the northern Panhandle area. And I'm mainly going to focus on our SBA loan programs. I do have some extra slides if we have time. But SBA's whole goal and purpose is to support small businesses, to help them get started, grow, expand. We do that through, hang on, let me advance my slides here. We do that through a few major categories of assistance. One is our counseling, which you heard Annie talk about that. The SBDC is one of our primary resource partners that we fund to do the hands-on counseling with small businesses. But we do offer some counseling services through the local district office as well. But SBDC is the primary source for that, as well as we have a group called SCORE, which are business owners who volunteer to mentor other people who are looking into starting a business, and you can find out more about them at score.org. We also assist with contracting. Annie touched on Apex and our procurement assistance centers. We want to help small businesses be able to access federal contracts. So we provide assistance with that, including a surety bond program for businesses that need bonding for either county, state, or federal contracts. We also have an office of manufacturing and international trade where we try to help assistance to manufacturers and also to businesses that want to take their business international. I have a few slides on that I'll share if we have time. And then we also have a disaster assistance loan program. But the main thing Annie wanted me to talk about was the SBA loan programs. These are our primary loan programs that you've probably heard about before, the 504, the 7A, and then our micro loan program. I'm going to go into more details on each one and kind of how they work here in a bit, but I wanted to first kind of cover how SBA loans differ from conventional loans. So one thing that's kind of confusing is when you apply for an SBA loan, you don't actually apply directly with SBA. We work with a network of lenders. We call them participating lenders who make these loans to the small businesses. So you as a small business owner, you would apply to one of these participating lenders and they would be the one that would make the loan to you. Usually the way it works is you will apply for the loan, say at your local bank. They'll review the request and they'll decide if they want to make the loan and if it does need to be an SBA loan. And if it needs to be an SBA loan, then they'll guide you through that process. Most of our loans operate on what's called a guarantee, which is where we guarantee the loan to the bank. This reduces the lender's risk, which makes it easier for them to loan to small businesses. We do require that the lenders consider the 5 C's of credit, which is character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. And we'll kind of talk more about what that actually means and what they're looking for later. And we are what's called a cash flow lender. So we want to look at credit and repayment, make sure that you have the ability to repay the loan. We don't really depend on collateral as much as traditional banks do. Now, we do still require collateral when it's available, but one major difference from our programs is that we would not decline a loan specifically for a lack of collateral. Some of the benefits to borrowers of the SBA loan programs, the main thing is, you're getting a loan on reasonable terms that you might not otherwise be able to get without the SBA guarantee. So this allows banks to make loans to businesses where the loan request might be just a little bit out of their credit box. Maybe the bank requires collateral, but your business doesn't have any. Or maybe the bank can only do a 5-year term, but you don't cash flow in 5 years. You need a 10-year term. So maybe SBA allows them to kind of stretch their credit box a little bit to make that loan eligible. We also have lower minimum equity injection requirements than most banks, meaning less cash required out of pocket. So some banks may require 20, 25% or more as your equity injection or down payment. In some cases, our minimum can be as low as 10%. And then we also, like I mentioned before, we typically can do longer repayment terms, which helps the monthly cash flow of the business. And then we have caps on interest rates. The interest rates is kind of a confusing one. People think that rates on SBA loans, that they are lower than market rate or artificially lower. We don't subsidize the rates at SBA. The rates on the SBA loans are market rates. So it's not going to be lower than what you would get on a regular commercial loan. But we do have caps to prevent predatory rates. So these are just some things that you could use an SBA loan for. These are not everything, but some of the most common. They can be used to start or expand a business or even to buy an existing business. Our loans can be used for leasehold improvements. So if you're going to start and open a business in a leased space, you can use our loan to build out that space. It can be used for working capital and operating expenses. Things like, inventory and payroll and things of that nature. You can also use our programs to buy land, build a building or buy an existing building, to renovate an existing facility. Lots of different things that the programs can be used for. What you're trying to do and how much you need to borrow will kind of guide us into which program is the best match for what you're trying to do. These are just some general loan eligibility requirements that apply to all the programs. You are required to be a small business. You can go to sba.gov/size to check the size of your business. But our size is based off of your business NAICS code. So you can look up the size standard for your NAICS code. It's either based on annual revenue or number of employees. But most of the people that we meet through SBDC or who are calling our office, generally most of those people do meet the size standard for small. You also have to have good credit and demonstrate a reasonable ability to repay the loan. So we do look at credit and we do look at cash flow. With the SBA guarantee, lenders may be able to be a little more flexible on your credit, and we'll kind of talk about that later too. You must have a sound business purpose. It has to be an eligible use of proceeds. What's the money for? How is it going to benefit the business? And then we do require that all owners of 20% or more of the business be willing to personally guarantee the loan. You have to be a for-profit business. We cannot do nonprofits under our regular SBA lending. We can do them under our disaster loan program, but not through the 7A 504 or the microloan program. It does have to be a US-based business and for your US operations, and it does have to be 100% owned by US citizens. And then, the business owner has to be willing to have invested their own time and equity into the business. And then this last one, exhaust financing options. So to qualify for an SBA loan, the lender has to certify that that loan would not be available to you without the SBA guarantee. We call it credit not available elsewhere. It's just the lender certifying that, hey, we can't do this conventional. We need the SBA guarantee. If the lender can do it conventionally, then we encourage them to do so. If we look at the 7A loan program, that's probably the one that most of you have heard about. The way the 7A loan works is that is a guaranteed loan that you get through either your local bank or credit union. You apply with the bank. Like I said, they decide if it needs to be an SBA loan. If it does, they'll give you any additional forms. They'll guide you through the process, and they apply to SBA on the back end on your behalf. You as the customer, your experience is just that you're getting a commercial loan from your bank. You don't apply directly with SBA. You're not working with SBA. You're just working with the lender. It goes through the bank's normal loan review and approval process. And then, like I said, the bank does the SBA portion on the back end. But the bank funds the loan. They underwrite it. They fund it, all of that. You as the borrower will pay what's called a guarantee fee for the loan. You'll pay that to the bank, and then they'll pay it to SBA on your behalf. So there is a fee for it. But what can a 7A loan be used for? Well, you can use it for pretty much any legitimate business purpose. I've got some things listed on the screen. But you can use it for anything from, operating capital to buying a business, expanding your business. You can buy real estate, commercial real estate with it. In some cases, you can refinance existing business debt. We've got lines of credit available, all sorts of different things you can use it for. These loans can go up to, so like if say you were using it for like a business purchase, those can go up to 10 years. If you're buying real estate with it, those could go up to 25 years. The 504 loan program is a little more restrictive. 504 is intended for commercial real estate and large pieces of equipment that have a useful life of more than 10 years. So really the goal of 504 is if you're running your business in a rented space and you want to buy your own shop or buy your own space, so that you as a business owner now own your business property or your shop or your storefront, whatever that is, the 504 was intended to facilitate that. So you could use it to buy an existing building. You could use it to buy land and build a new building. And then like I said, some equipment is eligible in that program as well. 504 is kind of unique because you actually have two lenders on a 504 loan. So you would have your bank lender or your credit union if you're with a credit union, and then they work with what's called a certified development company or a CDC. These are SBA certified lenders. And the way it works is, say you were doing a construction project, your bank would fund the whole thing with a construction loan, and then the CDC would come in once everything's done. You have your certificate of occupancy. The CDC would come in and pay down a portion of that loan, right? So usually the way it looks when it's all said and done is you'll have the business owner will be required to put in a minimum of 10%. We do require an extra 5% if you're a new business, which for us is less than 2 years old, or if it's what we call a special purpose building. So think something like a car wash that can't easily be converted to something else. So minimum of 10 up to 20%. Your bank finances 50% of the project. Your CDC would finance anywhere from 30 to 40%, depending on your situation. Banks love it because they get first lien position and they're only in it for 50% of the project. You will like it because that CDC portion, that 30 to 40%, you can put that out up to 25 years. It's a fixed rate. They're around 6% right now, and that can be fixed for up to 25 years. So it allows you to take a really big chunk of your project and basically get it on this low fixed rate for a long term. So it really helps with cash flow and repayment and making, getting into your own space much more affordable. Another loan program that we've been using a lot lately is the microloan program. These loans go up to $50,000, so that's what we consider micro. And these are non-bank loans. These are done through what we call micro lenders or mission-based lenders. And this is typically where we will refer someone who only needs a very small amount. Or someone who maybe your credit's not so great. Now you still have to have, good credit and repayment ability and all that, but the micro lenders can sometimes work with lower credit scores than what the bank would consider. And one of our micro lenders that we work with, they work with another third party that helps with like some credit repair stuff. So the idea here is if you're not fully bankable, so you can't get the loan at the bank, maybe we can work with you here through the micro lender on some credit repair, rebuilding, get you started with the micro loan. And then, the goal is to grow you into a traditional banking relationship. So where next time you need to borrow money and you need to borrow more, you will qualify hopefully for that traditional bank loan. And I've got a list of some of the local micro lenders. I'll show you those later on in the presentation. But here are some key things that lenders want to know, when you go to meet with the bank or the credit union or the micro lender. They want to know, do you have a business plan? What are you doing? Who are you? Are you a startup? And if so, how are you planning on doing that? Are you buying someone's business and taking over? What is it going to look like when you start running it? Or if you're an existing business, how are you operating your business now? What's going to change when you get this loan? What is your plan for the money and how are you going to use it to make your business better? They want to know, how much do you need to borrow and what do you plan to do with it, right? So many people will call and say, hey, how much do I qualify for? You really need to be able to say, look, this is my total project cost. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what it's going to cost me. Here's how much of my own money that I have to put towards it. And here's how much I need to borrow. And this amount I'm going to borrow, here's exactly what I want to do with it. You need to be able to really articulate that to the lender. They're also going to look at your credit history. They are going to use your score as a guide, but they're going to look at the accounts and what's going on with it individually as well. If you have some credit issues, talk to the lender about it. Maybe your number's low, but you brought everything current and it's improving. So they're really going to look at not just the score, but the actual history itself. Financial projections, if you're wanting to say you're an existing business borrowing money, at a minimum, they're going to want to see a pro forma that's going to show, okay, once they take out this debt, here's what cash flow is going to look like with the additional payment. Any changes to your operation. They're going to want to see, if you're existing business, your existing financials and your interim statements. Financial projections is another thing the SBDC can help you with. So collateral, lenders do want to know, do you have any collateral to guarantee the loan? And for a lot of businesses, especially service businesses, there isn't any collateral. But you have to be willing to pledge what you do have. So, if you say you have, in Texas, we wouldn't take your home as collateral. That's not allowed. But, if you have rental properties or if you have, business equipment or things like that, that's available as collateral, the lender is going to look at that. And then industry experience is another important one. We've been seeing a lot of business change in ownerships, where say someone's been the manager of a business for 10, 20 years and now the owner wants to retire and they've got the opportunity to buy that business. Or maybe you have, someone, um, fresh out of school with a degree and they want to start their own professional business. Maybe they don't have a lot of industry experience, but they have that degree, right? So, that's just part of your story that you'll tell the lender, hey, I'm fresh out of, uh, trade school, right? I got my HVAC or electrical license and now I want to start my own business. Or, if maybe you've worked as a welder for 10 years and now you want to start your own business. So that's kind of part of what the lender's looking at. They want to know, not only do the numbers work, but do you have the knowledge and the experience to run the business and make it successful? That's really what they're getting at, because they really, at the end of the day, they're betting on you. Are you going to be successful at running this business so you can repay the loan? Some tips for increasing your chance of getting a loan. We definitely recommend that you work with the SBDC on getting a business plan together. Even if you've already completed a business plan, there's some great templates online. SBA has a free template. Score.org has a great free template. So even if you've done your own and you say, hey, check, I got the business plan, it's still worthwhile to stop by the SBDC and ask them to just look over it and make sure there's not anything major missing, maybe help you organize it a little bit better. Any expense sheets, financial statements, projections. One big thing, SBA requires that lenders not only provide projections, but the assumptions that support those projections. And SBDC is really great with helping you put those together. So just a little ad there for SBDC. So some tips on how to connect with a lender. It's really important that you get connected with the right lender. They're going to be your partner in running your business. And so you really want to pick a lender that you want to build a long-term relationship with. But how do you find an SBA lender and know who does it? Well, if you were to call me at the office today, I'd always recommend that you start with your own local bank. I always ask, who do you bank with now? And if they are an SBA lender, I can tell you, hey, here's who does the SBA loans for your bank. Go and talk to them. If you already have a relationship with a commercial loan officer at your bank, I would start with that person. I would call them, say, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what I want to borrow. Is this something y'all can do? Do y'all do SBA loans? If you don't know if your bank does SBA loans, you can Google it and look at their website. You can call and ask to speak to one of their commercial loan officers. What I recommend you do is call our office and tell us what bank it is you're interested in working with, and let us tell you who a good contact is at the bank. One thing we find is that at a lot of banks, there's one or two people that really know SBA lending and it's really a specialized lending, and there's one or two people that know SBA lending. If you just walk into a random branch and ask a random employee, hey, do you offer SBA loans? They might tell you no, because maybe they just don't know. They don't know what the bank offers, or they're not the SBA expert. So we always recommend that you reach out to us. Let us tell you who's handling SBA loans at the bank, and kind of guide you that way so that you are talking to the right person. If you reach out to your bank and they talk to you about what you're wanting to do and they say, hey, we don't offer SBA, but I think we can do this deal for you. That's okay. Getting a conventional loan is okay. It's more than okay. It's good, right? Because you get an SBA loan when you can't get conventional. So if you've got a bank that is offering you a conventional loan and the terms are good, right? It's good interest rate, it's a good maturity, and you're happy with that, that's great. But if you're working with the bank and they say, hey, we'll do it, but we want you to put 20 or 25% down, and maybe you are not comfortable with that. Maybe you feel like you need to hold some of that back for working capital. Or, maybe they're saying, well, we can do it, but we can only do 5 years, but you really, SBA can do a longer term, and you really think that you would benefit for that. You can advocate for yourself to say, hey, I would really like to consider this as an SBA loan. Is that something you can do? So, that's something to think about. SBA does have a program called Lender Match, and you can access that program by going to sba.gov/lender match to learn more about it. It's going to direct you to a website called the My SBA portal. And in that portal, you'll create a login ID. You'll log in and put some information about your business in there. And then that gets your information out to lenders who have signed up to monitor this system. So they've signed up for referrals, and the lender will kind of look at the information you provided and they'll say, yes, they're interested, or no, they're not. And in a few days, you'll get a list back from SBA that says, hey, here are the lenders who said they were interested. And then you can pick one or two or three that you want to reach out to and follow up with. My only caution with lender match, what we have seen locally is that most of the lenders that are monitoring that system are online nationwide lenders. They're not local banks that have a physical presence here in West Texas. Okay. So they're legit. They're good lenders. They're sometimes one of our top lenders across the country. They're just not local. If all you need is a one and done loan to buy a building, start your business, whatever, and you're confident you're not going to need anything else anytime in the near future, these online banks can be a great option for you. If you've already gone to all your local banks and they've said no, but you've got an online lender willing to do it, again, still could be a great option for you. But we do encourage our local small businesses to try and connect with a local bank, because you're going to have your deposits with them, and you may do payroll. That payroll is going to come out of your accounts there. What we see is a lot of time these big online lenders, they want to do certain loans, but they don't do lines of credit. They don't really do equipment purchases and things like that. So what we see is a year from now, after you've gotten this loan with the online lender, a year from now, we see a business needing a line of credit, maybe for inventory or working capital. And this big online lender doesn't offer that, right? So you go to your local bank and the local bank says, well, we'd love to help you, but all your assets are tied up with the lien from this loan. And so now, they're talking to you about refinancing this other loan that you've already paid fees for once to get it the first time, right? And so now you got the local bank saying, hey, we got to refinance it because of that lien before we can loan you any more money. So then you're refinancing it and you're paying a fee on that same money twice. So if we can avoid that and get you connected with a local lender that meets all your other business needs first, and who's also going to be with you for the life of your business when you need, to upgrade your equipment in a couple of years, or when you need a line of credit, that is what we would prefer. At the end of the day, we want you to get matched with a lender who can meet your needs, but we see a lot of value in working with local lenders and local banks, so much so that we do maintain an active lender list for each of our market areas. And we do make those available to you if you call and ask. We don't really put them out publicly because they change so often. We're always keeping those updated with new contact information. But like I said, you can always reach out to our office and we will be happy to connect you with the lender. So here are some of my tips. When I'm talking to people, they call in the office and I'm just kind of helping them get ready to reach out to a lender. Again, make sure you're speaking to the right person. We want to make sure you're talking to either a commercial loan officer or whoever their SBA point of contact is for the lender. And then I would say have a quick elevator pitch ready to go. When you get them on the phone for that first contact, don't launch into a long 20-minute story of your history and how you got into the business and what you're doing. Keep it really short and fast. Who are you? What do you do? What kind of business do you have? How long have you been in operation? I've had a auto repair shop. We've been open for 10 years. I'm looking to buy my own space. Or I've been managing this business for the last, 2 years, and I've got the opportunity to buy it from the current owner. Here's what I'm trying to do. You need to be able to tell them really quickly, I need to borrow X amount of dollars to do this, right? Please never call the bank and say, hey, how much can I qualify for? I need to borrow some money for my business. How much can you loan me? That doesn't get you anywhere. You need to be able to say, hey, I've got an opportunity to buy this business. They're selling it for $150,000. I've got $20,000 of my own money to put towards it. I need to borrow the rest from somewhere. And then ask them, after you've kind of told them, what you're trying to do, ask them, does this sound like something the bank would be interested in doing? And if so, do y'all offer SBA loans? And then they can kind of tell you from there, no, we can't loan to that industry, or yes, we do, but we don't offer SBA loans, but hey, maybe we can do it without SBA. Or they may say, because Amarillo is a small town and all the lenders are connected and know each other, they may say, hey, our bank doesn't do SBA loans, but maybe you can reach out to this person and see. So, just kind of keep it brief, right? Because you don't want to lose them going off into some long story. I will say, if you have worked with the SBDC on a business plan, include that in your opening pitch, because lenders love that. They know that if you've gone through SBDC, that you've got a vetted business plan and that you put some work and thought into it. The other thing I would say is, if you have credit issues that you know about, tell them that up front in that initial conversation. Say, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I do want to let you know, maybe you had a medical situation, or maybe you went through a divorce last year or something, and your credit took a hit, and tell them that, hey, my credit took a hit because of this situation, but everything's current now and paid as agreed. My number's still low, but everything's current. Is that something you can work with? And they'll tell you yes or no, usually, right? But it saves you from going through all this process of filling out forms and applying, and then the lender pulls your credit report and your score is too low and there's nothing they can do. And then the other thing I would say is, don't get discouraged just because one bank tells you no, doesn't mean it's not eligible. It could be that that bank just doesn't want to loan to that industry. It could be their portfolio has too many of that type of business, or maybe they're risk averse to startups or a certain industry. I can tell you, like in the Permian Basin, our top lender out there, they're awesome. They're a great SBA lender, but they will hardly ever do a trucking business. So I know if you call me and you say you got a trucking business, I'm not going to refer you over there because I know they can't do trucking businesses. It's just a decision the bank has made. But there's still a great SBA bank if you're doing something else. So it's kind of, that's why it's important to really talk to your local SBA office, talk to your bank, tell them what it is and what you're trying to do, and just ask them straight up, do y'all loan to these types of businesses? Is this something you can do? If you are interested in a 504, which, remember, those are the loans for you to purchase your own space. So if you're operating out of a lease space right now and rent is killing you and you want to buy your own property, building, I would definitely encourage you to look into a 504 loan. And 504 CDCs have statewide lending authority, but there are three that have a physical presence in West Texas, and those are the three that we normally recommend. And in Amarillo, you have Texas Panhandle Regional Development Corp., which is run by Doug Nelson. We have one out of Lubbock called Caprock Business Finance that also covers the Northern Panhandle area. And then Capital CDC also covers Northern Panhandle and parts of Eastern New Mexico. So any of those three would be fine. You'd be welcome to reach out to their point of contact and just tell them what it is you're trying to do and ask if that's something that they would be interested in helping you do. If you don't have a bank lender, they can help put you in contact with a bank that they've partnered with before to make that connection. If you're interested in looking into one of our microloans, remember those are the loans that are under 50,000. There are many micro lenders out there. These are three that we know and that cover our area. Communities Unlimited does have a local office there in Amarillo, but their director of lending is located out of the area, but her name and contact is there. And then People Fund has an office here in Lubbock, but they also cover your area. And then Lift Fund is out of Dallas, but they also cover this area. And then I thought we would pause here in case anyone has any questions. I do have a few other slides of information that I can share with you if we have time, but I think we're kind of getting to the end of the hour, so I want to just pause and see. Callista, if you wanted to do questions or anything from the chat.
Does not look like there are any questions currently in the chat, but if anybody does have any, please just drop them in there and I will make sure to ask Jennifer about them.
And I do see Kim Voss in the chat. She's also with our office, and she posted a link to Lender Match. So if you do want to check out that website, you can do that using the link she posted. Um, and then on the screen, we are on LinkedIn. If you want to use your phone to scan the QR code and follow us on LinkedIn, we would love that. Also, we're on Twitter. So you can follow us on Twitter as well. We'd be happy to have any of you following us there. I did mention, let's see,
How
how are loans, I see that with Robin, how are loans impacted by the receipt of grants? So it would depend on the grant and the purpose, what it's used for. If you have a specific type of grant, Robin, you want to throw it in the chat? Maybe I can speak to that scenario. Probably the most common we see is like, where like your landlord gives you a landlord's rebate for like leasehold improvements. Is that maybe what you're talking about? Um, We do. So, like, say, for example, your bank gave you a 7A loan to do leasehold improvements. And then the landlord said, hey, when you're done, we'll give you, okay, downtown revitalization grant through the city of Borger. Okay. So it depends on, again, it depends on the grant and how they're doing it, and the timing of how it pays out. So, just kind of in general, depending on timing, the grant can kind of be part of your equity injection, not truly an equity injection, but part of your project funding that's not coming through the bank. If it's a situation, if the grant is structured where you have to pay to do the the work first and then the city reimburses it to you later. If you were to use your loan money to make those improvements, the lender would probably require that when you get the grant, you use that to pay it down. But if you've already used your own money out of pocket to do that, then sometimes the lender will allow that to go back into the business for working capital. I would just really, when you're talking with your lender about the project and where your funding is coming from, that you really understand the timing of that grant and how it will be paid out. But yeah, that can be a part of your project funding for sure. It'll just be timing to depend on, you know, whether it goes straight into the project or whether it goes, to pay down the loan later. But yeah, we have those and the facade grants and things like that the cities are doing are really great opportunities for small business owners to kind of help cover some of that cost. We do have, I know there's a lot going on with wildfires and things like that. I want to let y'all know SBA does have a disaster assistance loan program. It does require that a declaration be made either by the state or by the Secretary of Agriculture or even a federal presidential disaster declaration. If there is what we call a physical declaration for physical loss due to the fires, and then SBA loans could potentially be made available to help with disaster repair. And those loans are available to business owners, but also to homeowners and renters that are impacted. We also have what's called an economic injury loan program, which is also done through our disaster loan program. And those are for what we've seen most recently. We've had several for drought. The last one we had for drought has already closed. So there's not one open right now, but you can keep an eye out because they are kind of rolling declarations that come out pretty often. But this is where SBA makes what we call economic injury loans available to businesses who have been indirectly impacted by the drought. So typically what you see is, the drought affects farmers and ranchers, and then there's businesses in the community that depend on those farmers and ranchers, right? And so then they're seeing loss in their business because the farmers and the ranchers are hurting due to the drought, right? So there's kind of this trickle down impact. And so if you can show that your business has been negatively impacted by the drought, or sometimes it's for other things, but if your business has been impacted and there's an open declaration, then that might be a loan program that you're eligible for. And those you can find by going to sba.gov/disaster. We also want to let you know we have a new initiative that we're really focusing on called Made in America. And the whole goal of this initiative is to support and bring back American manufacturing. And so we've got a portal on our website. And Kim, if you'll drop that in the chat, we do have a portal that has resources. One of our main focuses is access to capital for American manufacturers. We did recently begin offering a new loan for manufacturers. It's called the MARC loan, and it's basically a working capital line of credit geared towards manufacturers. It's new and it's kind of a unique loan facility, but if you are a manufacturer who needs financing and you want to talk more about that, you can give me a call. We also have an onshoring portal and we have an onshoring handbook that Kim's going to link in the chat as well. The goal of this is to help American manufacturers find suppliers and, strengthen their supply chain. So we have resources like IndustryNet and ThomasNet and Connex where you can go and find American suppliers and things of that nature. And then, of course, we talked about contracting. If you need a surety bond, whether you're doing a federal, local contract, whatever, if you need surety bonding, we do have a surety bond program. It's very similar to the loan program in that it's done through participating surety bond companies. We don't write it for you, but you apply through a local surety bond company that participates in our program. And the premiums on that are more competitive and have better rates. So anyone doing bonding, if you want to know more about that, you can reach out to our office as well. But I think that's the end of what I had. If if anybody has any questions that you want to talk about offline, you're welcome to call our office or shoot me an email and we'll be happy to help any way we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I was just going to ask that I'm going to throw up a poll here, and if everybody will take 60 seconds to answer these questions, it's just so that we know a little bit more about everybody that joined us here today and helps us improve these lunch clubs for the future. So if everybody could just take a moment real quick, and the chat is also still open, so if anybody does have additional questions that they would like to ask in there as well, that'd be greatly appreciated. Eight participants. One person's answered all of them so far. Let's go. Oh no. Did you want the camera?
No.
Okay.
Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time. I don't know about folks on the call, but for me, it helped tremendously, helped to just differentiate the different loans and understand, when you would want to use which one. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We appreciate you hosting and giving us a chance to share all this information.
Great.
Perfect.
And everybody, thank you for participating. Appreciate it. Next month, we're working on trying to get the
Comptroller.
the comptroller, someone to speak from the comptroller's office. All right. Well, thank you all so much. We'll leave that survey up just a second longer.
All right. I'll go ahead and close that out. Once again, thank y'all for joining us.
See you next month.